Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi Zevachim Kuf Yud. We begin around 11-12 lines off the top of the Amud. Mishnah says V'kulan shechasru. So back to ma'ale bachutz, when one takes material meant for hakrava in the Beis Hamikdash, and he does it outside. There's a chiyuv, kares, b'mezid, chatas, b'shogeg. Now, we had a machlokes yesterday in the Mishnah. Suppose he takes only part of the ketores, let's say, right? The incense meant for the mizbeach in the heichal, does only part of it outside. According to Rabbi Lezer, he's not chayiv unless he does the entire prescribed amount, right? Because the ma'ala b'chutz is meant to sort of parallel, to correspond to what's meant to be done inside. If you take what's meant for inside and do it outside, you're chayiv. That's Rabbi Lezer's opinion. Chachamim say no, even a kazayis worth of that ketores, if it's done outside, it's an act of haktorah on something which is meant for inside, and he's chayiv. The Mishnah does conclude that according to all opinions, suppose part of it went missing. Okay, you have the bowl of ketores, or you have the kaimetz off the mincha, and before you got a chance, before you turn, there's a piece missing, it's gone, it's burned. In that case, the entire offering becomes pasul. If it's missing, it's pasul. So if he takes this material now, this missing material, and he takes it outside, even if it's a kazayis worth, it's irrelevant because the whole mincha is disqualified. The whole ketores is disqualified. Now there's an interesting question coming up in the Gemara. What happens if this missing, so to speak, this chisaron, happened outside? Meaning, while the kaimetz was in the Beis Hamikdash and part of it goes missing, that's it aborts the process. It becomes disqualified from further hakrava. And now if you take it outside, there's no liability. But if it was taken outside whole, complete, and then outside the Beis Hamikdash, once it already became pasul, we know everything that leaves the Beis Hamikdash becomes pasul b'yotzei because it leaves. So now when it left and it's already disqualified, it's no longer suitable for hakrava technically, right? And now part of it goes missing. You can argue and say, well, who cares if it goes missing? In any case, it's already disqualified. And still the halacha is, if you do ma'ala b'chutz, he's chayiv. So who cares if it's still fully intact or part of it's missing? It's no longer a factor at play. Because in any case, it's not meant to be processed in the Beis Hamikdash. It's no longer suitable for the Beis. It's already possible because it left the area. It's inherently deficient. So now that he takes it outside on his mizbeach, he should be chayiv, irrespective of whether it's complete or missing, as long as there's a kazayis there. That's one way to look at it. On the other hand, you can say no. Fact is, it's one package, it's one entity, and if part of it goes missing even outside the Beis Hamikdash, since theoretically in this format it would not be suitable for hakrava on the mizbeach, so likewise there's no chiyuv of ma'ala b'chutz. Okay, that's the question coming up. So the question was posed like this. Mishnah says v'kulan shechasru, right? And all these, if something goes missing and it's taken outside, there's no chiyuv, there's no liability for ma'ala b'chutz. So the question, chisaron the chutz, suppose part of it goes missing when already taken outside, while it's already outside and pasul, and part of it goes missing there, shmei chisaron, we reckon with that absence, and we say, look, it's no longer suitable, and there's no chiyuv of ma'ala b'chutz. So eloi shmei chisaron, you could say no. The fact that something goes missing is irrelevant. And the Gemara explains itself. Mi'abrina, shall we say, kiva de nafak, if saluluhu. Look, once it leaves the premises, in any case it becomes pasul. So, what difference does it make if it's complete or missing? Mali chaser, what's the difference if it's missing? Mali yaser, or if it's full? Or then what you can say, yotzei, taking it out and makriv it outside, is only chayev if the isei be'ene went in. Yeah, only when it's fully there, complete. The lesser be'ene, when it's no longer fully intact, as it's meant to be, there's no liability for ma'ala b'chutz. Let me try to clarify and resolve this question. We have the Mishnah, where Rabbi Lezer says if one is makriv merely a kezayis outside, he's pater. Rabbi Lezer pointed out sheyakar is cool unless he does the entire kaimetz and whatever is meant to be done on the mizbeach. So clearly, if there's something missing there, right? In which case he was not makriv the entire thing, he's pater, clearly, right? So even though the chisaron occurred outside, he's pater. Amalei Rabba bar Rav Chanan Abaye, how could you prove anything from Rabbi Eliezer? We understand Rabbi Eliezer is on a different track than the Chachamim. Certainly, according to Rabbi Eliezer, unless he's makter the entire thing, he's pater. Of course. With Rabbi Eliezer, Pashat Mario, you're trying to resolve our question based on Rabbi Eliezer's words? Of course, according to him, it doesn't qualify. Because according to him, you have to be makter the entire thing to be chayiv. Our question was with respect to the Chachamim, who hold that even a kezayis outside is chayiv. Right? But the question is if something went missing. Right? So if one went missing inside the Beis HaMikdash and he took a kezayis outside, he's pater, because once there was a chesaron, it's possible. What happens if the chesaron takes place outside? Part of the kaimetz disappeared, and then he was makriv of the rest. That was our question. Hamar lei. So Abaye says, no. There's a reason why I'm referencing Rabbi Eliezer, because befeirush shmi ali minei de Rav, I heard from Rav clearly. Ad kan loy pligi Rabban loy Rabbi Eliezer. The only reason why the Chachamim qualify a kezayis as an act of mala b'chutz, the only reason why they oppose Rabbi Eliezer in that regard is only ela de'isei be'enim, when the rest is here, it's not missing. He was makriv because eyes of the whole, that qualifies. Avol b'chisaron, if something's missing, mo'idulei, they agree that he's pater, because part of the carbon is gone. You don't have the carbon. Lav the chaser b'chutz, assumingly, even though the chisaron took place outside. So apparently even the Chachamim agreed to Rabbi Eliezer in this regard. Loi, no, who says? The chaser b'fnim, perhaps when Rab says, the Chachamim agreed to Rabbi Eliezer that if something's missing, and you no longer have, a full carbon to work with, in that case, he's pater regardless. That's only the chaser b'fnim when the chisaron took place inside, while it was still an active, carbon. So in that case, if part of it goes missing, it aborts the process. But if the chisaron took place outside, who says the Chachamim would disqualify that act and exempt him? Tashmai comes another attempt at resolving this question. Again, the question is, according to Chachamim, that mala on a kezayis of a kaimetz is considered mala b'chutz. But what about if the part of it, the kaimetz went missing? So you no longer have the actual essence. You don't have the package. You don't have what to work with. I mean, that took place outside the Beis HaMikdash. Shall we say it aborts the process and exempts him or not? Tashma v'chulon shechasru v'krivim b'chutz. So look at the Mishnah again. And all these items, if some of it went missing, and he took it, and was makriv it outside, whatever's left, pater. Even the Chachamim say he's pater. Lav the chaser b'chutz. We're assuming that the chesaron took place outside. So see, even in that case, even when it went missing outside, Loi the chaser b'fnim. No, who says? Perhaps it went missing only inside. In that case, it aborts the process. However, in a case where he transported the material outside and then some of it got lost, and he was makriv kazayis to the left, perhaps he's chayiv. Okay, so in conclusion, if one is makriv, a kazayis of a kaimetz outside, Chachamim say chayiv, Rabbi Eliezer says pat. What if the part of the mincha disappeared? It disappeared while it was still in the Beis HaMikdash. All agreed. The mincha is now possible, unsuitable for any further processing. Mala b'chutz is pat. What if the chesaron took place outside? We're not sure. Hamakriv kach. Mishnah concludes with the halacha as follows: a person's makriv, piece of fat attached to a piece of meat of a carbon, puts it, outside the Beis HaMikdash. Mala b'chutz is chayiv. Hamakriv kach memurein b'chutz is chayiv. The question is, but the meat part is not really suitable for akrava. So shouldn't that pose a chatzitza concern? Creates a barrier between the fat, which is offerable material, and the mizbeach beneath it. Why does that qualify as mala b'chutz? He hasn't burnt the fat directly on a mizbeach. Amai, the chatzitza here. Amar Shmuel k'shavchan. You're right. He flipped it over upside down, so the fat is sitting directly on the surface of the mizbeach. Rabbi Yechon Amar no. Afilu teimah shlehavchan. Even if he didn't flip it over. Why is he chayiv? V'mani Reb Shimon. Going like the opinion of Reb Shimon discussed yesterday, who says you don't need necessarily a ha'ala on a mizbeach to be chayiv. Afilu the Amar afilu helo yala selachai. Even if you put the offering on a stone. You don't need to be directly on a maroch, on a firewood arrangement on a mizbeach. So ultimately, he burnt the fat on some sort of, surface. B'chutz is chayiv. Rav Amar, a third teretz. Min b'min chaytzitz. Even if we shall require the fat to be sitting on the mizbeach. Fact is, what's beneath him? Something of the same nature. Meat and fat go together. Min b'min, it's the same, two of the same type of materials. It doesn't pose a chatzitza. It is considered a direct, as though it's touching it directly. Continues the Mishnah. Malvachus is specific to items which are offerable, which are, meant for mizbeach, and when taken outside, right? But a mincha shel nikmitza, if a mincha before the kmitza, before the scoop was removed, so it's still raw, early in the process. There's nothing there suitable for mizbeach purposes, right? So if he takes it outside on a mizbeach, potter is potter because it's not yet suitable for mizbeach. However, kmatza, suppose he did the kmitza and then the kmitza slipped right back into the mix. V'chazar came to lissa into the mix. He takes his whole mix outside. He's chai because, as Rashi explains, likewise, had he done it inside the Beis HaMikdash, it would work. Because ultimately, in this mix, we have a kaimitz. And since it works inside, he's chayiv for outside. Okay, so that's the Mishnah. Ask the Gemara. The kmitza in this mix is no longer there. It's batal. It should become nullified, cancelled into the rest. V'amayli batli shirayim, the shirayim, the leftovers, should be mevatel. Due to their greater, quantity, they should be mevatel the kaimitz. Amar Zera, I'll tell you why it doesn't happen. I'll tell you why the kaimitz stands his ground. We all know that ein oilin mevatlim zeh, oilin, which means items which are meant for mizbeach. Carbon materials do not cancel each other out, despite the lopsidedness in terms of quantity. Typically, we say something is batal b'roy, but not when it comes to carbon materials. Each one stands its ground, has its own independent identity. Likewise, says Reb Zera. Interestingly enough, when it comes to the leftovers of a kaimitz, right? The kaimitz is the kaimitz, and the leftovers is shirayim. We find an interesting thing that the Torah relates to both the kaimitz and the leftovers as relating to haktorah, having some element of offer of haktorah potential, so to speak. Look, the kaimitz is meant to be put on a mizbeach, certainly. Haktorah applies, and the shirayim on the flip side, on the negative side, they're not meant to be put on a mizbeach. The Torah warns against burning the fat, the leftovers. It says loy taktiru, don't burn the leftovers on a mizbeach. Apparently, they relate to the concept of burning on a mizbeach, just not meant to do it, right? So it's a negative. But since both items identify with the concept of haktorah, they're both technically offerable materials, one in a positive, one in a negative. They qualify as oilin, mizbeach materials, which don't cancel each other out, despite the minusculeness of the kaimitz versus the rest, and therefore it's not batal. Okay, Amar B'Zer Nemra, we have the term haktorah regarding the kaimitz. V'Nemra, we have haktorah regarding the b'shirayim, and we compare ma haktorah. Haktorah is kaimitz, just like by the kaimitz, which is meant for haktorah properly. We say ein kaimitz mevatel chaver. If you have two kaimitzes mixed in, they don't cancel each other out. Haktorah is shirayim. Likewise, when it comes to shirayim, which also relate to haktorah, ein shirayim mevatel kaimitz, they can't nullify the kaimitz. Thus, if he's makter the whole, mix, On the Mizbeach is chayiv, and on the flip side, bachutz on the Mizbeach it works, it's successful, and likewise outside he's chayiv. Now we know that a mincha has two items which are separated and put on the Mizbeach. One is the kaimetz off the dough, and one is the lavoina, the spices. So this spice is meant to be put on the Mizbeach. So these two items sort of represent the mincha, which is then given to the Kohanim for consumption. So these leftovers, the shiraim of the mincha, becomes permitted by way of the haktorah. Which haktorah? Both. The haktorah of the kaimetz, haktorah of the lavaina. So you can say in a sense that the mincha has two representatives, two drivers, which drive it ahead, which enable it, which permit the mincha, the leftovers, for consumption. What happens if he's only maktir one of the two? He only processes one of these two drivers. Does half the mincha become mutter? Or shall we say no? Each one does half qualitatively. So it takes the entire mincha 50% closer to the finish line, but it's not yet permitted. That's going to be a question posed in the Gemara. But before we get to that point, it relates to the halacha of mala b'chutz as well. Suppose he only does the kaimetz b'chutz, is he chayiv? Or perhaps the kaimetz and lavaina are one entity, one package. They're the haktorah of the mincha. Until he does both outside, he's not chayiv. Okay, so very similar machlekes to what we had before between Rebbe and Rabbanan. Hakaimetz v'lavaina, right? These two items. Shehikriv es echad mehen b'chutz. He was makriv one of them outside the mikdash chayiv, because each one alone, independent of the next, is considered haktorah. Rebbe Poiter says no, consistent with his opinion earlier. You have to do a proper, complete haktorah. He says no, he's exempt. Unless he does the second one as well. Now, if he starts inside, he does the kaimetz in the Beis HaMikdash properly, and now all he has left is the lavoina, and then he does it outside. In this case, all agree chayiv, because this is the completion of the process, which gives it, elevates the its value, and it's considered mala b'chutz. Okay, since it's the gemar, the completion of the haktorah, it's reckoned regarding mala b'chutz. Now, just as a standard mincha has two representatives, you know what else has two representatives, two drivers? The lechem hapanim, like the weekly breads on the shulchan. There are two spoons of lavoina lying next to them, and once a week they take the, switch the breads, and the lavoina is placed on the mizbeach and burned. So again, we have two elements here, two bezicha lavoina. Can we view each one as a separate entity, or is it one package? Shnei bezicha lavoina shikr sachem nemechutz. Who's makriv only one of them outside? Is he chayiv? Yeah. Because each one is considered haktorah. Rabbi Lezer Poiter, no, he's patur Ashiyakos Hashem unless he does both. But all agree if it's echad b'fnim, if he started with the first one inside, and he's done that, now he has only one left, and he does that one outside, since it's a completion of the haktorah. V'echad b'chutz he is chayiv. Boy Rabbi Tzlug nafcha. Here comes that question that we just mentioned. We know that the kaimetz and lavaina are considered matirim when they're processed properly. The mincha is now mutter. What if he only does one of the two? Is half the mincha mutter for consumption or not? Kaimetz, mao shiyater connected b'shirayim. If he's makter just the kaimetz, not the lavaina, is it going to permit a corresponding portion of the mincha, 50%? Shall we say mishra shari? That each one of these drivers permits half. So even if it's one without the other, you still get half. Or no, each one weakens, so to speak, the Isser, meaning to say it partially develops the mincha and brings it closer to its destination. But until you got the second one on board, you haven't really gotten to your destination, and nothing is mutter. Now, interestingly, we have a similar discussion regarding pigel. Suppose he had a pigel thought during only one. While he was makter the ketores, he's thinking, okay, he's going to feed the mincha in a week's time. He didn't have that thought when he did the same with the lavoina. Does anything happen? Does it generate? Does it manufacture pigel in the mincha? So according to Rameir, yeah, He says, Mefaglin, you can make pigul b'chatzi mata, even by way of half of the mata, which means one of these two drivers. Whereas the Chachamim, no, unless he had pigul thoughts during both haktaras, there's no pigul. So our question regarding permitting the rest of the mincha for consumption, by way of just one driver, aliba deman, in accordance with whose opinion, whose position, regarding the other question of pigul, which is a similar question. How to treat one without the other. In accordance with whose opinion are we discussing this? According to Rab Meir, the Omar who says even pigul, which relates to one of these two drivers, makes the whole thing pigul. Mishra Shari, there's no question that each driver acts independent of the other. And certainly regarding our question, it's going to permit half the mincha, because each one has power independent of the other. According to Rabban, however, the Amri who say ein mefaglim b'chatzi mater, pigul thoughts that occur during the aktar of just one of these two elements absolutely has no effect on the mincha, because each one alone is nothing. In this case, there's certainly no question that the kaimitz alone can't have any positive effect on the mincha. Just as it can't have a negative effect, it can't permit the mincha, not half and not whole, nothing, until he gets his friend on board. So again, what's the question? According to Rameir, there's no question that it works. According to Rabban, there's no question that it doesn't work. Oh, what about Relezer in our Mishnah, who says that regarding mala b'chutz, right? Let's realize this question of how to treat one driver without the other has basically three applications: permitting the mincha for consumption, generating pigul on the mincha, or mala b'chutz. According to Relezer, mala b'chutz only applies when he's maktir both elements outside. Well, says the Gemara, you can't ask according to Relezer regarding the permissible status of the mincha. Certainly, Rabbi holds like the Rabbanon regarding what they just said. The Amar ein mefaglim b'chatzi mater. Pigul thoughts that occur during just one mater don't affect the mincha. Clearly, because he holds that just like, he holds regarding mala b'chutz, one without the other is worthless. So certainly has no effect on the mincha. So what's your question? El lib the Rabbanon dahach. Rather, we have found one more, last candidate, the opinion of the Chachamim in our Mishnah, who say regarding mala b'chutz, even mala the kaimitz generates liability. So now you can speculate regarding the other question. Apparently they give one without the other some importance, some power. So now you can speculate regarding the other question. What would they hold regarding being mater the mincha for consumption? Shall we say that the kaimitz alone is mishra shari, permits half, or kalish miklish, or no? Each one weakens, so to speak. It develops the mincha partially, but until you get both on board, you have nothing. Take it, we leave it unresolved. Okay, so this question regarding how to treat one without the other, right? The mincha has two representatives, the kaimitz and the levaina. What would be the status of one without the other? And it pertains to pigul, it pertains to mala b'chutz, it pertains to mater b'achila. Continues the Mishnah. Hazorik miktas dam b'chutz chayev. Older Rabbi Lezer in the earlier Mishnah says, unless they do the whole package outside your potter, but if he applies even part of the blood of a carbon outside, we learned that there's a chiyuv for shoichet outside, for zorik outside, for mala outside. So the chiddush is even according to Rabbi Lezer. If he applied part of the dam outside his chayiv, why? We'll see in the Gemara why he would agree in this case. Rabbi Lezer mafem menasech. Rabbi Lezer adds another point. This is a different sheet of Rabbi Lezer, not Rabbi Eliezer. Well, actually, some changed the gesher to Rabbi Eliezer. Okay, in any case, he says not only animals, birds, blood, even water on sukkahs. Water which was designated for pouring on the mizbeach was taken outside his chayiv. Even if one pours the water of sukkahs b'chag on sukkahs b'chutz outside his chayiv. Furthermore, shiari hadam shikrum b'chutz b'chayiv. Even leftovers, blood leftovers, after they apply the primary application to the mizbeach, and you have leftovers which are meant for the yisoid, poured on the bottom of the mizbeach, takes it outside his chayiv. The Gemara will explain, because he holds that pouring of the shirayim is very important. It's critical to the success of a carbon, so it's considered offerable material, and if done outside his chayiv. Amar Rava, umayda Rabbi Lezer b'damim. Although previously Rebbe Lezer holds, unless he does a full hakrava outside his pot, he agrees when it comes to blood, even partial works. Even partial is chayiv. Why? Why is blood different? This is not because you have a Mishnah Maseches Yoma, which discusses a case where he took the blood of the chatas into the heichal Kadosh HaKadoshim, and it requires multiple applications. Suppose he does one application, the blood spills out, he has to bring another carbon. Does he start again does he redo everything, or does he simply pick up where he left off? This is not Reb Lezer, Reb Shimon, they say don't bother starting over again. He starts from where he left off. Why? Apparently whatever is done is done. When it comes to dam, each one is, has value. It sort of gets registered, and even if you have to replace the carbon with it, just pick up where we left off. Likewise, when it comes to mala b'chutz, even a single application of blood is considered and reckoned as an act of akrova and ischai. Even pouring water on sukkahs. He quoted Reb Nachum from the town of Yudfa. Why is pouring outside considered mala b'chutz? It's just water. Reb Lezer Vishitas. Reb Lezer is following the opinion of Reb Akiva, who was his Rebbe, who was his teacher. Reb Akiva Rabbi Amr. The Amr who says the Nisuch HaMayim is sourced in the Torah, the Raisa, the son of Reb Akiva Omer, Nisuchea, plural, Nisuchea, alludes to two types of pourings, wine and water. Bishnei Nisuchim HaKasim Adaber. Pasuk here is discussing two types of pourings. Echad, one is Nisuch HaMayim, water. Ve'echad, one is Nisuch HaYayin, wine. And therefore, just as Nisuch HaYayin is chayiv if done outside, same thing with water. Amalei Rish Lakish Rabbi Yechon, I have a question, says Rish Lakish. If you're comparing it to the wine, let it require the same amount. If so, just like by the wine, we all know that the minimum pouring of wine with a carbon is 3 lug, right? Shleishis lug and afkan shleishis lug. Same thing with water. Less than 3 should not be chayiv if done outside. Clearly, Reb Lezer holds him liable even for less than 3 lug. He says me'achag b'chag, which Rashi says, according to one opinion in Masechah Sukkah, is even just 1 lug. Why is he chayiv even for 1 lug? Should be at least 3 lug, like the nesachim of wine. Second question: why is this limited to sukkahs? If it's compared to wine, it should be prevalent throughout the year. If you're comparing to wine, just like by wine, it pertains to the all year round. Likewise by water. And clearly, Reb Lezer limited it to Yom Tov, to sukkahs. Why only sukkahs? Answers the Gemara. Say, Menachem Yudfa. It slipped his mind. He forgot that actually we have halacha l'meishim Sinai. It's not learned from that pasuk. Halacha l'meishim Sinai. Exactly how it's done, when it's done, 1 lug on sukkahs, and only in that setting and at that amount he would be chayiv if done outside. Hadam Rav Asi. Rav Asi tells us, Amar Asi Rav Yechna, Mishum Chunya, she came from the town of Bikas Beis Charson, with a list of 3 halachas that were learned in Moshe Sinai. One is the Eser Natiyas, the 10 saplings. You can cultivate them until Rosh Hashanah of Erev Shemitah. Arava, the holding of the Arava on Sukkot. And finally, Nisach HaMayim. And all the details pertaining to Nisach HaMayim are rooted in Halacha Moshe Sinai. So it is as is. And therefore, if he takes a look on Sukkot outside, he has committed Mala B'chutz. Tanur Rabbanan. Okay, on this vein, Hamanasa Shleishis Lug in Mayim B'chag B'chutz Chayiv. If he pours 3 lug of water outside on Yom Tov, on Sukkot he's chayiv. That's the amount of water, according to Tanakam, which was meant to be poured on Sukkot. Rabbi Lezer, he disagrees. He says, "Imalon l'shem chag chayiv." Only if it was filled for the sake of Yom Tov use, he's chayiv if done outside. Now, we don't seem to discern a machlekes here. So, in what sense are they arguing? It might be not. I'll explain to you what's going on. Tanakama speaks about pouring 3 lug. Now let's say you have a huge tank which can hold more than 3 lug, and he fills the entire tank. He fills 10 lug of wine in the klisharis here, and then he would take it and pour it outside, right? Is he chayiv? Tanakama says no, because he poured in too much water. The Kli Sharis only sanctifies the prescribed amount, 3 lug and no more. Because there's an exact, precise amount, a maximum amount as well. But yesh shir b'mayim, regarding the question of whether there's a maximum amount of water. That's the point of machlekes. Tanakama says, yeah. So it's strictly 3 lug. If you add more, there's no activation of kedusha. Rabbi says it doesn't really matter. 3 lug is a minimum, but if he adds more, okay, there's still kedusha. Rav Papa has a new explanation. All agree that there's a shear, and if it's tinkered with and added, there's no kedusha. But the question is, do we need kedusha? Do we need to even put the pourings, the liquids in a Kli Sharis for sanctification? Is that a prerequisite? Is that a precondition for offering in the Beis Hamikdash, and on the flip side for taking it outside? And really, that depends on earlier machlekes. Bekarvu nesachim. There's a general question that they offer nesachim, these pourings of liquids with karbanis, but midbar in the desert before they enter Eretz Yisrael. That's the machlekes. Rashi explains based on the Gemara coming up in a minute. You see, the pasuk says when you enter Eretz Yisrael, you do nesachim. What was added now? So according to a Tanakama, truthfully, nesachim were prevalent all throughout the desert. They did nesachim there too. So when the pasuk comes and says when you enter Eretz Yisrael, you'll have nesachim, it's to add another dimension. That even a private carbon offered privately in your backyard, in your personal bama, when it was allowed, requires nesachim. Now we all know in that setting there's no Kli Sharis, no holy vessels. Apparently you can do nesachim without it. You don't need to sanctify the nesachim and the Kli Sharis. That's his opinion. That's why he says if it's more than the prescribed amount, but there's no kedushas kli, it doesn't matter. You don't need kedushas kli. Rabbi Lezer, however, holds differently. He says there were no nesachim in the midbar. Period. Only once they enter Eretz Yisrael, Torah says now starts nesachim, but only for a public offering in a public setting. You bring your carbon to a public bama, fine. And certainly over there they had Kli Sharis. And the nesachim needed to be sanctified by Kli Sharis. So according to him, if you have nesachim that are not kaddish with Kli Sharis, such as in this case where you added too much water, it's a no-go. Ravina Amar, he has had a third approach. He says, all agree that nesachim don't need kiddush kli. But the typical nesachim in the Torah relates to nisach hayayin, the wine pourings which come with a carbon. The question is, should we compare water to wine? The question is, can we derive and learn and compare the water to the wine? Just like by wine does not need Kli Sharis, perhaps water as well. That's the Shita Reb Lezer. Shita of Tanakama is different. He says all the wine doesn't need Kiddush, but water does. So if you did it in a way where the water was not Kaddish, there's no Kiddush. Applicants, that's the machlek. Tanarabban, I'll just say another piece which pretty much ties into our discussion and gives us a little background. He pours 3 lug of wine, which is the prescribed amount for a carbon, does it outside on the mizbeach, he's chayiv. Provided the wine had become sanctified in Kli Sharis, which is a very similar machlekes. Do nesachim need kiddush or not, right? My benayo. So again, what's the point of contention here? So we have several ways to explain. Amar Vada Bar Yitzchak. No, all agree that wine needs to become sanctified in Kli Sharis. So what's the machlekes? Machlekes pertains to wine material which is perched on the lip, on the wall of the Kli on top. It's not inside, but it's not outside. The overrun. Amar Vada Bar Yitzchak Birutze Midas, the spillover, the heap, right, on these containers. That's the machlekes. Tanakama says, you know what? Even that is included in the kedusha of the kli. The kli can activate kedusha on that as well. It's close enough. It's contained in the kli. Rabbi Lezer says no. Only if it's contained inside, but not on the ledge. Rabba Amar. The machlekes pertains to that discussion we had a minute ago. A general conceptual question. Do nesachim need kiddush Kli Sharis, yes or no? Tanakama says no. Rabbi Lezer says yes. And that question ties into the broader question. Did they do Nesachim in a private bama, which doesn't have a Klisharis? Meaning, is Klisharis critical for Nesachim? Yes or no? And that really relates back to the earlier question. What happened in the desert? What happened in the Midbar? Right? It's sort of a chain train of thought, which leads to conclusion regarding this question. And this machlekes really connects to another machlekes as well, the Sanya. So the Raisa says like this: Rabbi holds, you bring your offering in your private altar, you don't need nesachim. Chacham say you do need nesachim, but you don't have a klisharis. Apparently, you don't need a klisharis for nesachim. Whereas Rabbi says you do need a klisharis. In fact, nesachim only applied in a public setting where they had klisharis. Furthermore, says the Gemara, and this recent machlekes just mentioned, Kani Tanoi ties into another machlekes Tanaim with respect to the question of what happened in the Midbar. It's all sort of a chain, arrangement. The Sani will enter the Brisa. Pasuk says when you enter Eretz Yisrael, you bring nesachim kisavayo. Only now? What happened before? There were no nesachim before they entered. La'atino nesachim, to require nesachim b'bama g'doylo kasabadaber, only in a public setting. Because we could just go up incrementally from 0 to 1 to 2. We can't just jump to the highest level. There was nothing now. Okay, now we activate nesachim, but only in a public setting with a klisharis. You're insisting, only in a public setting. I feel perhaps even a personal mizbech requires nesachim without a klisharis. No. When the pasuk says in the land that I grant you as a nation, hare, the word lachem, with reference to the public, is indicating that we're speaking about a public altar, which has klisharis, because nesachim need klisharis and kedush. The Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Kiva, he disagrees. When it says kisevayo, what happens when you enter? Sure, there were nesachim all along, but now there's another twist to it. Latina nesachim, to require nesachim even in a private setting. But maktana, how KosherTube Torah is referring to even the private mezech without klisharis. Apparently, nesachim don't need klisharis. You're telling me the maktana to include even a private offering. Oh yeah, I know. Maybe perhaps it's only el of a public mizbeach. No, when the pasuk says el eretz meshvesechem, where you reside, all your territories, even in your backyard. Hare b'bama hanayegas b'chol ma'ishaves. How KosherTube Torah is alluding to a bama that can be anywhere. Okay, so in conclusion, when you properly analyze these two opinions, you will come to the following conclusion. As said, according to Rabbi Shmuel's opinion, that entry to Yisrael only activated nesachim by Yabama G'doyla, that's because lo ykarvu nesachim midbar. Because up until now in the midbar there were no nesachim. However, Uladivra Rabbi Akiva, who says that the pasuk now is applying nesachim to even a private setting, that's because until now we had public, and now we're adding private as well. He holds karvu nesachim by midbar. In the midbar they had nesachim, just not in a private setting, and that was added. Okay, at the end of the day, this is sort of the trigger point, but ultimately the machlekes ends up being whether nesachim need kiddush kli to be offered inside, and likewise to be chayiv from ala b'chutz. Okay, we started with the question of the mincha material that goes missing, chesaron. If it goes missing inside, then he takes it's potter. But if the chesaron occurs already outside, perhaps it doesn't really adversely impact, and he's chayiv from ala b'chutz. The fat and the meat on the mizbeach is considered ala b'chutz. The kmitza that fell back in is still considered offerable material regarding pinim and chutz. He's marked just the kaimis or just the levina outside of machlekes. Even mitzvah sadam is chayiv b'chutz according to all shittos, and likewise pouring of the me'achag on sukkahs outside is considered korban material and is chayiv from ala b'chutz. And we concluded with the shaila of kiddush nesachim, whether or not a klisharis was required, and really tied into the question of bamas yachid, which really was dependent upon a historical perspective on the nesachim in the midbar. All the best to you and hatzlach.